Hello everyone, and welcome to our first virtual Palestinian night. My name is Rand Al-Agha. I am a third-year student at Texas A&M University at Qatar and the president of the Palestinian Cultural Club at TAMQ. This event is hosted by PCC at TAMQ, the Palestine Student Club at Northwestern University in Qatar, and Students for Justice in Palestine in Georgetown University in Qatar. I would like to thank you all for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoy what we have worked very hard to prepare for you. I would also like to welcome our performers for tonight, starting with the Palestinian singer and songwriter Noel Kharman and the Palestinian independent singer Lina Sleibi. Both of them will be performing to us all the way from Palestine and Jordan. The Palestinian stand-up comedian, professor, and writer Amer Zahr, who is joining us from the United States. The Palestinian poet and content creator Bayan Khaled, and finally, the Palestinian writer and aspiring social scientist Mohammed Abu Hawash. We are here today from all around the world, from different nationalities and different backgrounds, because we support one cause, which is Palestine. And this honestly makes me very happy because now I know that this is the generation Palestine is waiting for. People say the elder will die and the younger will forget, but here we are. It seems like we will never give up and will never forget. How could someone ever give up finding the way back home? They might be right. The elders have died. But they have moved the message of freedom and right of return to those who are still alive. And this message will be passed on to those who are not born yet, moving from a generation to another until we and our forbidden home gain back the freedom we deserve. Seeing that all of you are here tonight reassures me that one day we will witness Palestine getting its freedom back. Until then, ستظل أوطان الدنا حاضنة لمواطنيها ليعيشون فيها. إلا نحن فلنا وطن يعيش فينا. We will continue being unlike everyone who has a country to live in, for we have a country that lives within us. And now, before we start, I would like to remind you to keep your microphones muted during the performances, and if you feel comfortable turning on your cameras, please do. And don't forget to cheer on the performers by using the chat box and the Zoom reactions. Without further ado, let's start with the first performance of the night by the poet and passionate content creator for the Palestinian cause, who was born and raised here in Qatar and is originally from Haifa city in Palestine, Bayan Khaled. Bayan has participated in many of our events, and she took part in our first Palestinian night back in 2019. Tonight, Bayan will perform some of her poems and show us a trailer of a documentary she created about her visit to Palestine. Bayan, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much. I hope you all can hear me. Yes? Okay, great. So, hey everyone, my name is Bayan Khaled, as Ran just said. For those of you who know me, hi. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm glad that you're gonna get to know me a little bit here. So just so you can understand my background for the context of the poem I'm about to present, I'm originally Palestinian from Haifa, and I was born and raised here in Qatar, but we hold Canadian citizenship. And a huge fraction of my social circle is exactly like me, Palestinian, Canadian, living in Qatar, subhanAllah. So I wrote this poem called Everywhere But Nowhere. And if you're Palestinian, you can already kind of guess what this means. So here we go. And sorry, don't mind my bunnies in the back. Just ignore them. Anyway, yeah, so here we go. Hello, sir. How do you do? Well, I'm great, thanks. How are you? I'm doing just fine, going to school. Ah, you go to Western University. That's cool. So where are you from? I'm from here. You didn't understand my question. Let me be clear. Where are you really from? Here we go. I'm a proud Palestinian, sir. Interesting. Although, you have really good English for someone from there. Well, I'm also a Canadian citizen. I'm from everywhere. Okay. So, where were you born? Qatar. I thought you said Palestine. I could have sworn. Well, sir, that's the thing about those from Palestine. They're from everywhere but nowhere. It's hard to define. Everywhere but nowhere? What does that mean? How to explain 70 years of occupation before my daily dose of caffeine? Long story short, we had a country. It was stolen away. Those who took it are still there today. So what happened to the ones who were there before? Ah, like my grandparents? Well, they had to flee the war. They left their home and everything they had. They were lucky to stay alive. For that, I'm glad. But some people stayed behind and are living in misery. They stole everything, our homes, our fashion, even our tea. Those of us who are lucky and made it out live all over the globe, but we have no doubt. One day we'll return back to our homeland, but in the meantime, we're everywhere but nowhere, and together we stand. So that's the poem part. I'll just continue the speech now. So unfortunately, and I guess in some ways, fortunately, this is a very common conversation that takes place between Palestinians and other people who have identified a home for themselves. This is like a conversation I've had more times than I can count while I was living abroad. Usually, when you ask people where they're from, they'll say they're from the country they were brought up in. I know in Canada, if you ask someone where they're from, they'll say, Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal or wherever. But if you're looking at someone who's clearly not white, and you follow up the question with, where are you really from? They get so offended. Like, what makes you think that I'm any less from here than you are? And then they'll answer with, well, my parents are from, I don't know, India or Morocco or Somalia, Philippines, wherever, as if to completely disassociate themselves from their parents and their ethnicity, except when it comes to Palestinians. And these people's parents would have been brought up in a different country. But for us, even our grandparents would have been brought up outside of Palestine. But we still proudly call ourselves Palestinian. Growing up, I remember my teachers were so confused. They'd be like, so where are you from? Palestine. Oh, so you have a Palestinian passport? No. So you were born there? No. Did you live there at all? No, never even seen it. Okay, but your parents were born there? No. Okay, what about this? What about that? No, no, no. Then how the hell are you Palestinian? It's amazing, really. Why do we hold on so tight to our roots? And it's because we were forced out. Those who stole everything from us were hoping that the ones who lived through it would die and the ones who came after would forget, which is exactly why we did the exact opposite. We made sure to rub our Palestinianness in everyone's face. And that's what drives them crazy. Despite the patriotism, though, when I went to Palestine, I was considered different. Surprisingly, even there, they asked me where I was from. For years, I thought, oh my God, I love going to Jordan because it's the closest thing to home that I feel. I'm not Jordanian, but I feel like I belong in some way, like people there are like me. And I couldn't wait to visit Palestine because finally, when someone asks me where I'm from, I won't be confused about what answer to give. For the first time in my life, I could say I'm from here, and it would be accurate. My father, Allah yarhamu, may he rest in peace, lived in a little town where Haifa is called Shafa Amer. If I tried telling anyone outside of Palestine, oh, I'm from Shafa Amer, they wouldn't know what that is, which is why I said Haifa in the beginning. But finally, I'm in Palestine. People ask us where we're from, and I get so excited. I can say Shafa Amer. And yet they're like, no, you don't live here. Where are you really from? My heart sinks. To hear those words from a white Karen or Susan or whatever, that's one thing. I can respond to those people confidently. But to hear it from my very own people when I'm visiting my own homeland for the first time in my life, where I thought I would finally feel at home, I didn't know what to say. And that's the problem with Palestinians. We're from here, but we're not really. We have a home, but not really. We're from everywhere, but nowhere. But there's so much more to my experience in my first trip to my homeland, Palestine. This was only a fraction of it. So if you are a Palestinian who's never seen Palestine, maybe you can catch a glimpse of it through my eyes and my experience. I created a documentary, as Rand said, called Tourists in Our Homeland, about my trip. So maybe you can check it out for yourselves and learn a little bit about your home if you've never been there. And if you're not Palestinian, maybe you can understand a little better and, you know, get an idea about our diaspora struggles from the documentary. So you can find that on my IGTV. It's on my Instagram page. I'm sure the PCC has tagged me a few times at BEE_Khaled. Let me know what you think. And if you have been to Palestine, what your experience was like. So I called it Tourists in Our Homeland because that's exactly what it felt like being there. Like tourists, touring our country, exploring the places, the people, the history, taking pictures like tourists do. But that's what happens when your home has been stolen away from you and your parents and grandparents engraved that patriotism in you before you're even born. Palestinians are awesome. But if you want to learn more, it's all in the documentary. In the meantime, I will show you the trailer and a little clip from the documentary so you can get an idea of what to expect. So if you just give me a second here, I'm going to share my screen. Rand, can you enable the screen sharing?
Can you share it now?
Yeah, it's working. Okay. So here's the trailer.
What happened? How did we get here? Who am I? What's it like being here as a Palestinian tourist in occupied Palestine? Show me the fun side. Show me the dangerous side. Take me on a journey through the past and the present of this holy land.
We're in our own country and we have to take pictures like tourists.
So that's the trailer, but I'm also gonna show you and give you like a little tour from one of the episodes, so you can see the beautiful country. Just open the VLC.
Let's start the tour by telling you about our experience.
Look how generous us Palestinians are. Free coffee, free dessert, free juice, free muqabbilat, appetizers that we have wiped. We're enjoying Team Na'me 1. You want some corn, thermos, من الفول, chai banana, with the family. We need واحد كمان أو 7. This is the rock that lifted our Prophet Muhammad into the seven skies. Inside the dome of the rock.
Okay, so yeah, that was one part of one of the episodes. The other episodes talk about things like, like a little bit of background about the whole situation, the history, and like what the current situation is like for Palestinians, and what our experience was like, like at the checkpoints or when we're dealing with the Israeli soldiers and, going in and out and whatnot. So, oh, and like how they treat the Palestinians who are there, both the ones who carry the Israeli passport and the ones who are Palestinian, and what life is like in the Palestinian side and in the occupied side. So if you're interested, it's all there. Yeah, so thank you so much everyone for listening, and I hope you enjoyed and you learned something. And thank you so much to the PCC for inviting me every single year and remembering me. I feel really honored for that. So thank you and peace.
Thank you so much, Bayan. The poetry in the spoken word was really beautiful and very relatable for a lot of Palestinians, I'm sure. And I'm really looking forward to watching your documentary, inshallah. So thank you for being here and for sharing your experience with us today. Our next performer is Mohammed Abu Hawash, a Palestinian writer and graduate student who's working towards becoming a social scientist. Mohammed and his family hail from the beautiful city of Haifa, and he came to Qatar to pursue his undergraduate degree in foreign service from Georgetown University in Qatar. So without further ado, Mohammed, welcome, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I am from Haifa. My mother is from Qada Haifa in Sabbarin, which was an ethnically cleansed village as well. That I'd love if anyone who's ever been there to send me pictures or let me know what they've seen. All I know about that village is a short excerpt written by Rashid Khalidi when he went there, and the stories of my grandparents. But today I'm not here to talk about what I've seen or what I know about Palestine on a personal level. That was what Bayan was here to show you. I'm here to talk about the apartheid system in Palestine. And so for that, I have a PowerPoint presentation, which I'd like to attach first for you in the comment section in case you have any trouble following, along with another document. You don't have to download it, but you can if you wish. So I'm just trying to do that here. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be enabled, but I can try to do it afterwards, after the presentation then. Okay, so can everybody see the slideshow? I'm gonna take that as a yes. So I made this slideshow as part of a research project at a rule of law class during my master's degree, where I was attempting to prove on a legal basis that apartheid is now a reality. And I proposed as part of my research that the United Nations should reconstitute a special committee on the crime of apartheid, which was active in the 80s and 90s, mostly on the South African case. And I used a lot of infographics from visualizing Palestine. So the problem that we're facing is that the Oslo Accords failed to bring peace to Palestine. And most politicians have failed to admit that in our region and all around the world, at least politicians who are in positions of power. The reason the Oslo Accords have failed, I've proposed three reasons. One is the presence of unequal negotiations between an occupier and an occupied entity. This is quite commonly known in Palestinian circles and was a criticism given of the Oslo Accords from their earliest days. The second reason is that there is an apartheid regime in the occupied territories that prevents peace from being a reality. And the third major reason is that Palestinian refugees have not been given the right of return, whereas any Jewish person around the world can do aliyah. This means that any Jewish person, regardless of their background or connection to Palestine, can migrate there and immediately be welcomed with open arms. Whereas a Palestinian who may have been a refugee of war in the last few years, for example, someone who left Gaza, would have a much more difficult time returning. I define apartheid by using the International Convention on the Suppression and Punishment of the Crime of Apartheid, which gives 3 prerequisites for a system to be considered apartheid. This convention was enforced as of July 1976. The last time I checked, which was last May, there were 107 countries that signed on to it. That means there is approximately 80 to 90 countries around the world that do not recognize apartheid or this definition of apartheid. These are the countries that have signed on to it. And you'll notably see that North America and Western Europe are concentrated locations where countries do not recognize it. Most of the countries that do not recognize apartheid as or at least this definition of apartheid, are usually countries that are worried about being persecuted for committing apartheid. Well, this explains a lot of why, for example, the United States did not sign on to it because of its policies of redlining. Although that policy has been abandoned, yet the US does not sign on to it. Germany is another country, Turkey, Japan, Australia. So I want to start with the prerequisites. So the first prerequisite for apartheid is denying members of a group the right to life and liberty by inflicting four things: murder, excessive harm, arbitrary arrest, and illegal imprisonment on a wide scale. The second prerequisite is imposing living conditions on a group that are calculated to cause its physical destruction. And any Palestinian is very aware of what this means. It means home demolitions. It means physical displacement. It means appropriating land and using it for Israeli settlements, even though that land had been used for agricultural production or environmental preservation before that. So, for example, in 1998, Benjamin Netanyahu, who I think was prime minister at the time, had confiscated an entire hill which was completely forested, and that forest was protected by the Palestinian communities that lived there, completely destroyed that forest, and then built a massive settlement over the entire hill. This is one infographic I wanted to share with you by visualizing Palestine. That goes to show to what degree prerequisite A applies in Palestine. During just a single war in 2014, 11,166 Palestinian families were made homeless. 556 children were killed, and until today, so 6 years later, not a single Israeli politician was held accountable or taken to court. The highest level of persecution that took place regarding the 2014 war was, I think, the reprimanding of some Israeli soldiers for being too aggressive. They were never really punished, but they were reprimanded. And there were some new legal measures taken to basically give families more warning before their house is going to be destroyed. So not only were they given a warning small bomb, so the system in 2014 was the plane would drop a small bomb that doesn't really destroy anything, giving the family a minute to leave the house, and then the real bomb falls and destroys everything. So now they also add a text. So you get a text before your house gets destroyed, and that was their response to calls for accountability so far. And this is another infographic that goes to show the degree of this physical destruction of Palestinian homes since 1967. Approximately 25,000 homes were destroyed in Gaza and the West Bank, displacing 160,000 Palestinians. This is since 1967. So oftentimes in our Palestinian imaginary, we forget or we think that the displacement stopped in 1967, but it really didn't, because these 160,000 they now they probably have doubled in number when you include their descendants. Prerequisite C is preventing a group from participating in the political, social, economic, and cultural life of the country. So this began in 1948 with especially the 150,000 Palestinians that did not leave Palestine after the Nakba. These people were put under curfew. They were not allowed to leave their homes without permission from the Israeli police. and they were not allowed to leave their villages without receiving permission from the Israeli military. Later, the restriction on leaving your home was relaxed, I think within a month, but the restriction on leaving your village or town was not removed until the 60s. So for 22 to 25 years, Palestinian citizens of Israel were not even allowed to leave their towns. They were living in open air prisons, much in the same way that people in Gaza are today. But this is something that we often forget. And this prevented them from participating in the political, social, economic, and cultural life of the country. And after the occupation of 1967, this kind of military regime extended over the entirety of historic Palestine, as well as parts of Syria and parts of Egypt. And until today, the Israeli military puts arbitrary curfews in Palestinian cities and towns. It completely encloses and isolates Gaza from the rest of the world. Prerequisite D is using any kind of measure designed to divide the population. So the most obvious example of this is the Palestine Wall, which, just for comparison, is 8 meters tall compared to 3.6 meters tall for the Berlin Wall. If you recall, there was a sample of the Berlin Wall at Georgetown University in Qatar, which was placed there as a relic of a gone-by era of an isolated and divided Europe. And I remember this speech given by a German faculty member at Georgetown who spoke about how the world is much better today without the Berlin Wall. And I spoke to him afterwards about the Palestine Wall. I was surprised by his response because I think he failed to understand how similar his experience and his wife's experience was to our experience today as Palestinians. And it made me realize how little people understand this wall and how big of a role it plays in our life. So while I was making the same presentation in Vienna and Budapest, as part of my master's degree, I told people that this wall, if you put it where we are now, it would stretch from Budapest to Vienna and back, and there would still be more room. And I think that affected people. They understood what it means to be living in Palestine, be living in a completely divided country using a physical wall. And another memory I have of this wall is watching a student protest in, I think it was the late 2010s, against this wall, where students, each one of them brought 5 or 6 stones, and they went to an empty part of town where nobody would get hurt, and they started hurling the rocks at the wall, causing the earth to shake, and still the wall wouldn't go down. And yeah, maybe it was a cathartic experience for them, but they couldn't take it down. And until today, that wall is a physical manifestation of apartheid in Palestine. Another manifestation of apartheid in Palestine is the Israeli ID system, where only a select 7 million of the around 11 million, 10 to 11 million people in the country are allowed to vote. And the remainder of people living in Palestine who live under Israeli martial law, and some of them live under Palestinian civil law, are not allowed to vote in the system or in selecting the representatives in the system that really regulates their entire life. And until today, people find this ridiculous. They tell Palestinians, why do you want to vote in the Israeli election? Well, the reason we want to vote the reason many Palestinians want to vote in the Israeli election is because it affects them sometimes even more than the Palestinian election. And while I don't think any Palestinian would want to recognize a Zionist entity in Palestine, everyone understands that this is part of life. And that if you want to continue with your life, you want to be able to participate in the political, social, and cultural and economic life of the country. There is also a segregated road system in Palestine, where if you have a certain color on your car number plate, luckily it's not your skin color as it was in many countries around the world. It's the color of your number plate on your car. That determines what roads you're allowed to drive in the country. So the red ones are restricted to Palestinians, and incidentally, they are the closest ones to Palestinian towns and villages. Or the currently existing Palestinian towns and villages, not the ones that were ethnically cleansed. I don't want to take too long, so I want to keep moving. I have a video I want to share, which I'm afraid it might be a bit laggy, but I'm going to try to play it anyway. This is about how the segregated apartheid system in Palestine also prevents people from getting married. So this law, which I think you can see now on the screen, Citizenship Law of 2003, it began as a temporary law and became permanent. And other laws also exist to forcefully separate families in Palestine. Because of these laws, if you're, let's say, a Palestinian with Israeli citizenship living in Asqalan or Nasra, and you want to marry someone who's living in Khalil, you will have to give up your citizenship, and you will give up your mobility rights, you'll give up your right to subsidized education and right to unemployment benefits and so many things. Apart from the fact that you're not allowed to return to your town of origin, to Nasra, for example. And your spouse in Khalil is also not allowed to move to Nasra or Asqalan to live with you, or Rabi'a, or anywhere. So because of that, Palestinians are not marrying each other across the border. And this is a manifestation of an old Zionist plan. And I say Zionist because it was the Zionist party in Europe that said they need to do this to make sure that the Palestinian population gets estranged. And this is what they're doing now. It took them about 115 years, and their descendants actually applied this law. The people who thought of it did not do it. They did not. They didn't even have the heart to do it, but their descendants did. I'd like to move on, but it's not letting me. Okay. Just give me a moment, please. So this is a picture of the apartheid wall. It's actually illegal under international law. Only one judge in the ICJ voted against making it illegal, whereas all other 14 judges said that this wall is illegal and must come down. And yet, since that wall was deemed illegal by under international law, 200 more kilometers of it were built. Prerequisites E and F, and with that we'll be almost done. Prerequisite E is exploiting members of a group financially. I didn't take the whole detail, but prerequisite E talks about how you exploit their labor, exploiting a group's labor. And the way that Israel exploits people's labor, Palestinian labor, is by taking advantage of the massive difference in minimum wage between Palestine and Israel. So in Palestine, West Bank and Gaza and Israeli territories. In the West Bank and Gaza, minimum wage is $380 per month, and in Israeli territories, including the settlements, it's $1,126 per month. Now, what Israeli companies do is they go to Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza and they tell them, look, why don't you work with us without a contract, but we'll give you the minimum wage salary. So this Palestinian takes this deal, and then they don't have any health benefits, any health insurance, any government support. They don't really have any way to seek justice if they don't get paid. But they do accept these offers because they want to earn the higher salary. And as a result of that, many of them never get paid because of a cruel boss. And others, if they get hurt while they're working, if they get injured, they have to pay for their own health costs. And this is just one of the few ways in which Palestinian workers are exploited. Others are put in a position where their best career opportunity is working in an Israeli arms factory. That means they manufacture weapons that later kill their people, or they get exported to Azerbaijan or Vietnam or other countries. And we need to give these people an option to not work in such factories. Prerequisite F is the persecution of organizations and persons by depriving them of fundamental rights and freedoms because they oppose apartheid. So if you can prove that this apartheid, this system, persecutes people simply because of their opposition of apartheid, that means you've met this prerequisite. It's quite a difficult prerequisite to meet, but the Israeli system has excelled at proving that it meets this requirement. So the Israeli system has a ministry that is dedicated to fighting the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. It does not have a charter for what kind of BDS activism it's opposed to and what BDS activism it's against. It's just against all BDS activism. And it even hires and indoctrinates many Israeli university students to go online and make sure that they defend Israel online, which defending Israel online oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it includes actively attacking Palestinians and making the internet an unsafe place for Palestinians, pressuring companies like Zoom to censor Palestinians. And we are using Zoom as a platform now, but Zoom is responsible for censoring an event at University of California recently, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. And these are just some headlines that cover this issue. These are some people who were persecuted by Israel for their opposition to apartheid, and also people who have suffered under the apartheid system in general. And yeah, I'm sure you've heard of these people. Azmi Bshara, who currently lives in Qatar, officially he is persecuted by the Israeli system because he visited an enemy state, Syria, which is a brotherly Arab country as well. Ahad Tamimi was imprisoned for slapping a soldier. She slapped that soldier because he shot her cousin and he shattered her cousin's skull. And yet she was still persecuted by the government. Incidentally, the soldier who shot her cousin didn't get into any trouble. Sarah Jaibis is accused of attacking a settlement or a checkpoint. I'm actually not sure. And she was in a car and that car set on fire. The accusation is that she set that car on fire. That has not been proven. She suffered burns to 60% of her body while that car was on fire, and she was eventually pulled out of the car and was never given treatment for the burns. She was taken as a terrorism suspect immediately and put in prison, where several of her organs failed because she did not receive the necessary health attention. This is another way that people who oppose apartheid are persecuted. It's through this Israeli-funded and Zionist-funded website called canarymission.org, which many Palestinians are on that website. And the goal of this website is to help or get the world to conflate the BDS movement with the far right. So what you see on the main page of the website is this thing where they place far-right activists next to BDS activists, and that they're hoping that you as a viewer would make the connection. Oh, BDS is anti-Semitic, Nazi, etc., whereas there is really no connection between the far-right and BDS. And I say this because I was active as a Palestinian activist in Hungary, and we had organized a protest. And that protest was attended by far-right activists who we did not allow to join us. We asked them politely to leave. And so they left and they stood at a distance from us, and they weirdly started filming everything we do. But they did not participate. And this is a problem for many Palestinian activists in Europe. And so we actually have meetings where we sit together and we talk about how to make sure that these far-right activists don't sit with us, don't stand with us. And Canary Mission goes online and makes the conflation, and it's because it knows it benefits from this, because people are not informed about Palestine. And so it wants people to make this conflation, confuse them. Another way that they persecute people is through this app called ACT-IL, where you get missions. You can sign on to it, anyone can sign on, and then they give you a mission. They tell you, oh, go on this website, go on this Instagram post and put a pro-Israel comment. And they've attacked many people, many activists. Most recently, Nerdine Kiswani. They flooded her university's email addresses with complaints about her, and they wanted to get her expelled. Thankfully, the Palestinian community rose up to defend her, including someone who's here who spoke with her, Amer Zahr, and others. Even her own community and the Jewish Law Students Union at her university defended her because it was a completely made-up charge. They have very interesting training videos, which I want to play one for you, and with that I think we will end. I don't know if I went over time, but let's see. Oh, okay. Took some moment.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya, and I'm here to welcome you to ACT-IL, the first pro-Israeli grassroots online movement. There are many groups that try to delegitimize Israel online, and now you will have the tools to counter their efforts right in the palm of your hand. We're going to show you how, by using the ACT-IL app, anyone can become an activist for Israel, anywhere, at any time. Welcome to the ACT-IL app. Now, time for action. When you open the app, you will be directed straight to the home page where you will have two ways of reviewing the mission. You can either scroll through all of them on the mission tab or choose your missions according to different platforms. When clicking on a mission, a description about the specific mission will show up, where you can learn more about the action needed. The how-to button is there to give you a step-by-step video explanation of how to perform the task on social media. By clicking on the Go To button, you will be redirected to the platform where you will perform the required mission. Let me just give you an example of the power of these missions. This post was not offensive enough for Facebook when a single volunteer reported it. So we reached us through the Suggest a Mission tab and we made it into a mission. After only 48 hours and over 2,000 reports, Facebook took it down. This is the power of the masses. It shows how all of us together can make a change. If you see a mission and think, hey, wow, I didn't know that, I want to learn more, you can just click on our new feature, ACT-IL Library, where you can find additional information about Israel for you to be better informed. How cool! Another feature we have is communities. You can join communities according to location, organization, or personal skills. And best of all, you don't have to pick and choose. You can be a part of as many communities as you want. Just so you know, each mission completed will unlock even more missions, and they will grant you points that you can utilize to get full prizes. Just go to our leaderboard tab, where you can see the global ranking of our users. The more missions you do, the higher you get. Still off? Just click on our FAQ tab to see video tutorials and learn more on how to use the app. If you want to get in touch, we're always here, just one click away. Contact us. Okay, so here we go. Try it yourself. You're officially an online activist. Welcome to ACT-IL.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you today. I would like to thank the PCC for their invitation. And today I'm going to perform 2 songs, so enjoy. يما موالي الهوى يما موالية ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النبل فيا يما موالي الهوى يما موالية ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النبل فيا ومشيت تحت الشتاء والشتاء رواني والصيف لما أتى ولع من نيراني بيضل عمر فدا ندر للحرية يما موالي الهوى يما موالية ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النبل فيا هلا لا لا ليا عيني يا لبنية طب الهوى يا حلو عام هلاك شوية هلا لا لا ليا هلا لا لا ليا عيني يا لبنية طب الهوى يا حلو عام هلاك شوية البنت قالي لميها يما ظلمتيني أول عريس إجا ليش ما أعطيتيني ثاني عريس إجا دينه على ديني ثالث عريس إجا لرحله وحدية هلا لا لا ليا هلا لا لا ليا عيني يا لبنية طب الهوى يا حلو عام هلاك شوية عام هلاك شوية. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be with you. So our next song will be حلوة يا بلدي. For those of you who know it, I really hoped you could sing with me, but sing, you know, with yourself, unmuted, unfortunately, or muted, let's say. Enjoy. كلمة حلوة وكلمتين حلوة يا بلدي غنوة حلوة وغنوتين حلوة يا بلدي أملي دايما كان يا بلدي إني أرجع لك يا بلدي وأفضل دايما جنبك على طول وذكريات كل اللي فات فاكرة يا بلدي قلبي مليان بحكاية فاكرة يا بلدي أول حب كان في بلدي مش ممكن أنساه يا بلدي فين أيام زمان قبل الوداع كنا منقول إن الفراق ده مستحيل وكل دمعة على الخد كانت بتسيل مليانة بأمل إن احنا نبقى موجودين في بحر الحب على الشطين يا ليلي يا ليلي ليلي كلمة حلوة وكلمتين حلوة يا بلدي غنوة حلوة وغنوتين حلوة يا بلدي فين حبيب القلب يا بلدي كان بعيد عني يا بلدي وكل ما بغني بفكر فيه قول يا حبيبي انت سايبني وراك وهاللحن ده حنغني احنا الاتنين يا محلى كلمة بلدي بغنوة بين سطرين يا ليل يا عين يا عين يا ليل Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be with you. And I hope we meet, you know, like in real life, not virtually. Thank you, PCC, for your efforts and for the invitation. And enjoy the rest of the schedule.
Thank you so much, Lina. That was absolutely beautiful. Anjad, shukran كتير, Lina. Up next, we have some unforeseen changes. We're just gonna go with Mohammed. If you can give your poetry right now. Go, yeah, if that's okay with you. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, it works, no problem. So I, unlike Bayan, I don't have my own poetry to share, but I do have some of my writings to share, and I'm going to be reading from رسائل لا تكتمل, which is a recently published book of poems by a Palestinian poet, Ali Kharman. Now, if you're in Jordan, you'll be lucky enough to go to pretty much any bookstore and find poetry that's written by Palestinians and Jordanians that you really won't find anywhere else in the world. Books that, you know, 10 or 15,000 copies of it are printed and then they go out of circulation. And this is one of those books, and it's astoundingly beautiful. And so I hope to get to it in a moment. Now, what I wanted to read from you was something that I wrote during the only experience that I had seeing all of Palestine. I've never been to Palestine. I've seen it across the border. From Unqais, I saw Buhayrat Tabariya. And I flew over it while I was flying to Budapest. And this is what I wrote. I wrote, in real time, it appeared as soon as it disappeared. I did not notice the pain in my jaw from biting so hard on my teeth. A feeling that was a mixture of fury and agony overwhelmed me. That was it. That's Palestine. It took us no more than 3 minutes before we were above her. A 3-minute flight is all it took. I cannot stress this enough. It was right there. Yet, I might as well have been living on another planet in another world. There is a ringing in my head that won't cease. Perhaps what shocked me the most was how easy it was to distinguish the Israeli settlements from the Palestinian towns, cities, and villages. Despite seeing it at night, I had no doubt that I knew what I was looking at. The Palestinian cities looked organic, flowing harmoniously. There were no perfectly straight roads or curved avenues that were clearly designed in an office in Tel Aviv. The villages are equidistant, a sign that they existed before the industrialization of agriculture, when every village lived off the hills and fields within a walkable radius. The edge of one village's radius was the beginning of another. The one thing spoiling this harmony with nature is the master planned virus of the settlements. They surrounded the cities and are wedged in between villages. They embody and illustrate what the exile and occupation are to a Palestinian, an encroaching darkness, or as Saeed put it, a permanent winter. I couldn't bear to look, but I couldn't look away either. I unclenched my jaw and immediately felt the pain in my forehead from pressing hard on the small plain window. Truly, this is not about nationalism or money or even religion. It's about land. And I read this to some colleagues who shared with me something that Desmond Tutu wrote. And well, he wrote it much better. And this is what he said. He said, about 10 years ago, he said, 2 years ago, an American friend took me on a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Golan Heights. over the Palestinian West Bank. When I look down at the West Bank, at the settlements, like crusader forts occupying the high ground, the Israeli security cordon along the Jordan River, closing off the Palestinian lands from Jordan, I knew I was not looking down at a state or the beginnings of one, but at a Bantustan, one of those pseudo-states created in the dying years of apartheid to keep the African population under control. And this is why many Palestinians are concerned about the two-state solution as it is right now, because, well, we all saw the deal of the century, and it would have created Bantustans. And Desmond Tutu knew this more than 10 years ago. I'm going to try to move beyond this and share some beautiful Palestinian literature and music and poetry like Lina did. And thank you very much for that performance. So Ali Kharman published this book, I think, 3 years ago, and it's about 130 pages. I want to read just a few poems he wrote, and I also want to read the blurb of the book. So نبذة عن الشاعر. علي خرمة مهندس وشاعر فلسطيني من مواليد 87 ويقول: هذه الرسائل هي حلم مسافر في آفاق القلب، وحروف تصنع هذيانات باردة وخواطر شاردة وشظايا جنون ماردة. هي لا تكتمل لأن العلامة الكاملة لا تعطى لأي حدث كان أو سيكون في حياتنا. لابد من تأخر بعض الطيور عن السرب. هذا النقصان هو الذي يجعلنا نرى أجمل ما بالموجود ونشعر بقيمة المفقود. رقيقة أنت كأصوات فيروز وميادة، عميقة أنت كرسائل غسانة لغادة. إنك أنيقة جدا في الغياب، كما لم تكوني أنيقة يوما ما في الغرام. واكتشفت في زمن الحروب والفتن أنك جنة على هيئة وطن. This book is dedicated to his wife and it's mostly love poems for her. I'm going to start with a poem on page 41 titled ألم الذاكرة. كيف لي أن أخبرهم بأنك جنوني الذي يلتف حول الخاصرة، وبأنك الوحيدة القادرة على احتوائي حينما يشتد بي ألم الذاكرة. This is really one of my favorite ones. And the next poem I want to read to you is on page 45 titled موسم الحصاد. قبل عام كان موسم الحصاد قد هل، اشتكى أهل البلد من قلة المحصول. ذهبت سرا دون علم أحد منهم متوجها بعزيمة كبرى نحو الحقول. كتبت اسمك على قصاصات ورق صغيرة ونثرتها فوق زرع آيل للذبول. لم يحدث شيء حينما للمت خيبتي وتمتم بيني وبين نفسي: هذا معقول؟ بعد عام هل موسم الحصاد مجددا؟ وأصيب أهل البلدة بحالة ذهول. اكتشفنا أن الثمار تحولت لعسل ذهبي من فرط حلاوته حتما تزيغ العقول. عرفت الآن أن سحرك بعدما تخمر في أراضينا كان هو المسبب لهذا والفاعل المسؤول. سأعلن للعالم إني أملك وصفة بسيطة جدا كفيلة بأن تجعل المريخ كوكبا مأهول. وهكذا تكونين أنت نجاة البشرية جميعها، لتنتهي النزاعات على الأرض وتزول. I want to move towards the end of the book to read two more short poems for you. On page 120 is the poem titled أثر. وبعدما تتسللين بين قصائدي فتقرأينها بعناية وحذر، ثم تغادرين خفية دون أن تتركي أي أثر، أو ظنا منك أنك لم تتركي أي أثر. أعرف أنك كنت هنا. فمثلا إذا تغير شكل ذرات الأكسجين وانخسف وجه القمر، أعرف أنك كنت هنا. وإذا تأوهت الجدران من هول ما رأت وامتلأت الأغصان بالثمر، أعرف أنك كنت هنا. وإذا جاءني وحي الشعر فجأة لتلد كل قصيدة مرت عليها أنفاسك ألف قصيدة أخر، أعرف من دلالات كثيرة أن خلايا جلدك لامست مشاعري، وأن عطرك الدافئة قد مر، حتى لو حاولت جاهدة إخفاء هذا، فلن تستطيعي أبدا يا سيدتي أن تكتمي شهوة الصحراء للمطر. And the final poem I want to share with you is on page 135, titled التمس اللجوء. تركت الوطن المزيف الذي لم يبق منه سوى دموع أمي. تركت الوطن المزيف الذي لم يبق منه سوى دموع أمي وبعض السراب والضجر، وجئت ألتمس اللجوء للوطن الحقيقي بين عينيك، وأقدم أحلامي إليك كي تحفظيها وتقرأي عليها قصص حب في مواعيد السهر. So with that, I'm going to stop here, unless you'd like me to read some more, but there's more on the schedule. So
our next guest, thank you, Mohammed, so very much. Our next guest is very well known. He is a writer, a filmmaker, and adjunct professor at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. He is the founder of the 1001 Laughs Comedy Festival. He also published a book titled Being a Palestinian Makes Me Smile. Please all join me welcoming the Palestinian American comedian, Mr. Amer Zahr, and please turn on your cameras so we can laugh with him with a very nice stand-up comedy.
All right, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where the hell we are. Hello, everybody. Please take off your, unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves. So the administrator, let people start unmuting themselves. I want to hear people, if they laugh, if they not, whatever. But it's good to see everybody. I'm looking out in the, come on, unmute yourselves. Unmute, don't be scared.
Hi.
Don't be scared, don't be scared. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, okay, this feels good, man. I like talking to people, all right? I'm a comedian. I need to talk to people. It's been 1 year. I haven't done a live comedy show, so I need to hear people. I'm so happy to see everybody here today. And look, I mean, it's so beautiful. I mean, you guys are all in Qatar. Are you in Qatar or are you in other places around the world too?
Qatar.
Everyone's okay, mostly Qatar. Okay, cool. All right, great. Well, listen, I'm so happy to be here today. I'm sorry I was a little late, but I am very excited to be with all of you here today. And let me see, look at all these beautiful Arabs that I'm looking at. I see all these names, Rand, Abdurrahman, Sahar, Kayan, Muhammad, Lujain. Look at all these beautiful, and this beautiful Arabic name, Sabina Uzakova. Wow, beautiful. Sabina Uzakova. What part? Don't interrupt me. What part? What part of Palestine are you from, Sabina?
Jerusalem.
Oh, you are you really, by the way? Are you really?
Yes, obviously.
I am honorary Palestinian.
Oh, I wish. Oh, yeah, honorary Palestinian. I wish we could be like honorary citizens of the world, but we're not. You know, we don't. Nobody gives us honorary anything. Okay, well, listen, I am so happy to be with all of you here today, and it is very exciting for me to be, especially with young people and young Palestinians around the world. I live in America, okay, where it's very difficult to be Arab and Palestinian. We just got rid of Trump. That's what the Arabs call him, Trump. Whenever they talk about him, it was Trump or Kushner. Trump or Kushner is how they talked about them. We Palestinians have had a hard time under Trump or Kushner, and I don't think it's going to get better under Joe Biden. But, you know, I try to introduce myself to people in a certain way. I always tell people that I am Palestinian like Jesus. Okay? Because he was one of us, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Technically,
yes.
yeah. Technically, yeah.
Yeah, of course. He's very popular. He's the most popular man in the history of the world. We should use him more. Okay? He's very popular. And his mom is the most popular woman in the history of the world. Okay? And they're both Palestinian. We should use these people a lot more. I tell everybody. But you know what? Listen, this is why it's very hard to be a Palestinian, because no matter how much comedy I do, no matter how many views I get on Facebook or YouTube, I can never ever be the most famous Palestinian of all time. Jesus, he messed that up for everybody. He's number one, okay? He's number one. I can never be the most famous Palestinian of all. But there is a big opportunity for number two. There's a big opportunity because we have a big drop off from number one. It basically goes like Jesus, then DJ Khaled, you know? So we really have a lot of room in the middle, you know? It basically goes like from love thy neighbor to we the best. So really there's a lot of space to get in there for number two. DJ Khaled is Palestinian. Do you know that? I mean, he doesn't always say that he's Palestinian. Sometimes I forget that DJ Khaled is Palestinian, but then I think, you know, sometimes he forgets too. So, you know, it's okay. It's no problem. But I am Palestinian. I always, I'm going to tell you guys some stories that I tell a lot. You know, my dad is very Palestinian. I grew up very Palestinian, okay? For those of you who don't know, we Palestinians, we grow up differently than everybody else, okay? We grow up, we're like professional protesters, okay? I remember from the time that I was 5 years old, we would wake up at 7 o'clock, and by 10 a.m. we would drive, and we were in New York City, and we Palestinians, we protest. And we don't care if it rhymes or if it doesn't rhyme, we just say it. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, we don't want your war. 5, 6, 7, 8, free Palestine. We don't give a shit, okay? It doesn't have to rhyme. We just say it, okay? And I was very Palestinian growing up, very Palestinian. I grew up with Arab parents, but I grew up around all white people, okay? And everybody around me was white. My best friend who lived across the street, he was this little white kid named Tommy. He was my best friend. We used to hang out with each other all the time. But I know that his mom was different than my Arab mom. His white mom would let him do stuff that my Arab mom would never let us do. Like, I don't know what's wrong with Arab moms. They hate sleepover. Like, my mom would never let me sleep over anywhere, you know? Said, Mom, can I sleep over Tommy's house? What is wrong with our house? Sleep here. Bring all your friends and come and sleep here. You know, they don't let us sleep anywhere. But we're very, my dad is very Palestinian, okay? My dad, he was born in Palestine. He became a refugee. He grew up in Jordan. And he starts every sentence the same way. in 1948. Because this is how Palestine, this is where everything starts for us. In 1948.
Why is your ghost telling me?
Okay, please mute yourself if you're with your loud child. Okay, thank you. So in 1940, and that's how my dad, he can't help himself, everything. Baba, this is my friend Mike. Hi, Mike, how are you? In 1948, you know, I just can't, everything. And my dad never had anything when he was young, you know, because he was a refugee. He never had anything when he was young. We used to have a lot of stuff because we were spoiled American kids, you know, so we had a lot of stuff. And my dad would, when we would lose things all the time, you know, my dad never lost anything because he never had anything. So everything was very special to him. But we would lose things all the time. I remember when I was a kid, I was playing with my little toy truck and I lost it. And I said, Baba, I lost my truck. And he said, where was the last place you had it? I said, right there. And he said, and now it's just gone? I said, yeah. He said, and he always said the same thing. He said, well, then maybe we should call the news. I said, why, Baba? He said, because I think the news would be very interested to know that the little toy truck can just get up and walk away. Okay. That's how we always say, you know. Yeah, I could never share anything when I got older. I said, Baba, my girlfriend dumped me. Well, she was just there, right? I'm like, yeah. He says, and now she's just gone? I said, yeah. This is how it is with a Palestinian dad, man. My dad, and then I grew up around all these white people, and then I watch the news all the time. You know, in America, they tell Arabs that we're white, but we know we're not white. We know we're not white. I watch the news, and we are not white, okay? There's all kinds of criminals on the news. There's mass shootings on the news in America. I'm sure you see the news in America all the time. We have guns everywhere. People are shooting everybody all the time. It's crazy. And it's always a white guy. It's never one of us, okay? It's never one of us. It's always a white guy. And they always, they have different words that they use for white criminals than they were used for us, you know? They always have different words they use for white criminals. Disturbed, deranged, delusional, or depressed, you know? Not the word they use for us. What's the word they use for us? Terrorist. Terrorist. See how quick they said it? See how fast they said it, Sabina? Terrorist. They know immediately. Terrorist. Oh man. That's not, but we're not always terrorists. Sometimes the other word they use for us is mastermind. We're always mastermind. Something about being Arab or Muslim makes you very smart. Mastermind. There was, remember about 3 years ago in America, there was the guy in Las Vegas. He killed everybody, killed like 50 people from the building, killed like 50. And the next day on the news, they said he liked country music. That was the headline in the news. Okay. And then there was a guy, a white guy in South Carolina. He walked into a church and he killed everybody in the church. And he told the police that he was killing everybody because they were black and he was white. And the next day on the news, one of the senators said, he's just a little crazy. And then there was a kid in Florida 2 years ago. He killed all his classmates in his high school. And for 2 weeks, CNN talked about depression. He's depressed. Then there was one of us. Okay, 3 years ago in New York City, he rented a van in his own name. Okay. Then he drove down the street. He ran over 10 people. He jumped out of the van with a fake gun. All right. And the police shot him and they arrested him. And CNN said they have caught the mastermind. This guy's he's not a mastermind, all right? He's an idiot, all right? We have idiots too, all right? We have deranged, delusional, depressed idiots. But as something about us, we're always smart, always the mastermind. I don't get it. Because listen, I am very proud to be Palestinian. I'm very happy that I'm Palestinian. But they call us terrorists over there too. But we're not terrorists. You can't be a terrorist if you're from there. That's the rule, okay? If you're from there, you can't be a terrorist. If you're from there, you're just defending your homeland. You can't be a terrorist, okay? This is the rule. Because we know that we're from there, okay? Because we know who we're related to. See, everybody's last name here, it connects to some village or some city in Palestine. Their last names connect to Europe, Hungary, Romania. I don't know where they're from. I know where we're from, okay? I know where we're from. I know who we're related to. See, because Palestine is an old place. America is not an old place. I live in America. It's a very dumb country, okay? We're very dumb here in America. I'm sure you all know that. You watch the news. We are very dumb. We have a game show in America called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Okay, and nobody wins. Okay, this is the problem we have in America. Okay, in Palestine, everyone is too smart. The kids are too smart. Okay, I was walking around Palestine a few years ago in Jerusalem, and a little 6-year-old kid came up to me and he says, "Do you think that Barack Obama will get enough votes to beat Mitt Romney in the electoral college?" I was like, "What the hell are you talking about? You're only 6 years old. Go play soccer." Okay, he knows too much. See, America is not a smart country. America is a young country, very young. We Palestinians, we have history, okay? We have history. If you go to Jerusalem, there's a street called Shara Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din, he's been dead 900 years. He has a street, okay? There's a street called Shara Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's been dead 1400 years. He has a street. There's a street called Shara Imra'ul Qais. Do you know who Imra'ul Qais is? Imra'ul Qais was a poet before Islam. He's been dead 1600 years. He has a street in Jerusalem. Do you see how beautiful our culture is? How beautiful it is? In America, somebody looks at a building and they say, "This building is 100 years old." And then you're in Jerusalem and you're eating a falafel sandwich and you say to the owner of the restaurant, "Tell me about this restaurant." And he says, "Well, Jesus ate here." You're like, all right, that is old. That is old. See, we come from a beautiful, beautiful place. I love it so much. Now in Palestine, there's a lot of craziness. Don't ask for directions if you're in Palestine. I never ask for directions when I'm, or the whole Arab world. For some reason, everything in the whole Arab world is dughri. No matter where you are and you ask for directions, how do I get there? Dughri. I was in Ramallah. I said, "How do I get to the hotel?" They said, "Dughri." I said, "Okay, how do I get back to the theater?" They said, "Oh, no problem. Dughri. I was like, this is why the Israelis can find us every time we try to escape, because when we try to escape, you know, we run away and our friends say, "Where do we go?" "Run, Dughri, run, Dughri," you know, and they catch us. I don't know, man. But people, here's another problem we have, you know. People think, I don't know if there's any, you know, non-Arabs watching this, or especially any white people, but, you know, people think that we Palestinians hate Jews. This is not true, okay? We don't, you know, we don't have the best relationship with it. You know, if it was on Facebook, it would say it's complicated. You know, 70 years of occupation, you know, makes it complicated. We don't hate anybody, though. You know, we don't love them. You know, we're not signing, you know, normalization agreements with them, but we don't hate anybody. We're really very, very similar, you know. And actually in Arabic, we call Jews, what do we call Jews? Ulad Amna, right? Ulad Amna, because, you know, we're cousins, you know. We don't hate Jews. We're kind of similar, you know. big nose, crazy mom, very hairy. That's men and women, very hairy. The only difference is they are chosen by God and we are chosen by the FBI. That's the only, you know, the FBI loves us. Yeah, we don't hate, but people always ask me weird questions where I am when I tell people I'm Palestinian in America. See, people don't know what's Palestinian in America. I was in the airport a few years ago and the flight was delayed, not because of me, but the flight was delayed. And I went into the airport bar, or sorry, this is a college restaurant, to have Coca-Cola, and I was in there, and when I was in there, there was a white guy there, and you know, you're in the airport and you're alone, you know, you just start talking to people. So I started talking to him, and he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Amer," and he said, "Wow, that is the interesting name. Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Michigan," because that's where I live. I said, "I'm from Michigan." He said, "No, where are you from?" Because this is what white people say when they want to find out where you're really from. Where are you from? I said, "Oh, from, sorry, from. I apologize. From, I'm from Palestine, like Jesus. I'm from Palestine." And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I didn't say I was a unicorn. You know, I said I'm Palestinian. We're real. You know, we're on the news." See, people never understand what we are. And now I have a hard time because I'm American and I'm Palestinian and I go back and forth and I don't really know I get confused with my identity sometimes. And now I'm always happy to do events like this because, you know, when Rand called me, and you guys are very lucky to have a great leader like Rand with you guys in your organization. But when Rand called me, and it's always Palestinian women that are running everything. I mean, let me say, you guys, you better start doing a little bit better, okay? Because Palestinian women, they run everything, which I love it. But we have you know, we got to do some more work, us men. But when Rand said to me, "Will you come and do a show virtually for Palestinian students in Qatar?" I said yes, for two reasons. Number one, we Palestinians should always support each other. We should always support each other's leadership and initiatives and stay proud of who we are. And so if I can be a little part of making every Palestinian a little bit prouder of who they are and always say that they're Palestinian, I will do that. And we should support all of each other whenever we have a chance. That's the first reason that I did this show. The second reason that I did this show is because when someone asks me to get in front of a room full of beautiful Palestinians, because we are the most beautiful people in the world, I will always say yes, because I am now 43 years old and I am still single. I mean, can I tell you guys a secret? Can I share a secret with you? We're all family now. Yes? Can some of you more unmute yourselves if you're not in a loud place? Unmute yourself. I'm 43. I'm single. I've never been married. And well, my mom thinks I'm gay. Now, you know, I'm not gay. I mean, there's, you know, some people are gay. That's fine. You know, I'm not. She thinks I'm gay. By the way, not only does she think I'm gay, she has fully accepted that I'm gay. Like, you know how, I don't know if anybody has ever taken like psychology classes, but you know, there's like five stages of grief, you know, like anger, denial, acceptance, depression, bargaining. You know, she's already gotten to acceptance. She never had the initial trauma. I never said anything to her, but you know, but she's gone through all the stages, and she believes, you know, that I'm gay. And now my mom, she's not mad that I'm gay. Because she got over that. She's mad now that I'm gay and I'm not telling her. You know? Now she's mad that I'm keeping a secret from her. So she'll call me and she'll try to still trick me into confessing, you know. She called me the other day. She said, Amer, I am your mother. I said, okay. She said, you can tell me anything. I said, okay. She said, no matter what it is, I will love you. I will accept you. I said, okay. She said, are you gay? It's okay. You can just tell me. And I said, no. She said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I think I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. Let me check my iPhone. Let me see. Next Wednesday, yeah, not gay. Next Thursday, also not gay. You know, it's not on my schedule. You know, I'm pretty sure that I'm not. She still tries to trick me. She'll call me and she say, Amer, are you dating any girls? I say, no. She says, others? I said, no others. No girls, no others. Now she tries. You ever watch those police shows where they have the suspect for murder in the room and they already have all the evidence and they're just trying to get him to confess? Like, this is how my mom treats me now, you know, when she tries to do this old Arab mom thing where she tries to trick me to confess. She has me in the room. I'm the suspect. She's the cop. And she just comes in and she says, look, we already know. Okay. We already know. We already have all the evidence. Okay. We have your fingerprints. We have you on video, you know, and then she does this Arab mom thing. How about this Arab mom thing? You will feel better when you tell me. عشانك مش عشاني انت بترتاح لما بتقول لي مش عشانك مش عشاني. And she keeps trying. And this is, listen, I'm not gay. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm just not, I'm not. But when I go to Palestine, sometimes I get very confused. Okay. Because in Palestine and probably in Qatar too, it's very hard to be a single heterosexual man. It's very hard. Let me explain why. Okay. It's very confusing. Because in America, if a man and a woman are walking down the street holding hands, that's totally normal. If two men are walking down the street holding hands, it's kind of weird. In Palestine, if a man and a woman are walking down the street holding hands, it's kind of weird. If two men are walking down the street holding hands, it's totally normal. Okay? Now, I didn't know that. So I was walking down the street with a friend of mine in Jerusalem, and he wanted to talk to me, so he grabbed my hand. But I'm American, so I was like, hey, man, stop that. He said, no, it's okay. I said, it's not okay. Don't touch me. He said, no, you can hold my hand. I said, I don't want to hold your hand. And then he gave me the most Palestinian answer I've ever heard in my life. He said, come on, hold my hand. What's wrong? Are you gay? So I held his hand. You know, so I held his hand, and you know, and I started kissing him too, just so everybody knows that I'm very man. All right. Well, before I go, I'm leaving in a minute. Don't worry. That when a Palestinian says they're leaving in a minute, it's just going to be another, 5 hours. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm leaving in a minute. But let me share one more story with you guys. So I go to Palestine all the time. I never say that I visit Palestine. I always say that I return to Palestine whenever I go, because we are just on a long vacation wherever we are, but we're all going home one day. And so whenever I go to Palestine, I say that I'm returning to Palestine. So I has anybody here ever been to Palestine before? Yeah.
Yes. I'm from Haifa.
Who's from Haifa?
Me.
A lot of us are from Haifa.
Who's me, Noel?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I go to Palestine all the time, and I fly into what they call Tel Aviv Airport, or it's really Matar al-Lid, but they call it Tel Aviv Airport. And now, for those of you who don't know, when we Palestinians arrive in the Tel Aviv Airport, there is like a VIP room.
Yeah.
For us, and we can stay there as long as we want. Now, let me share one more secret with you guys, because we're all family here now. So I am Palestinian. Both of my parents are Palestinian. They are from Nazareth, in Nasra, Akka, Uyafa. 3 of the most beautiful cities in Palestine. My dad is Christian, and my mom is Muslim. Oof. Yeah, I heard somebody go, oof, oof, oof. Yeah. That's called the haram combination, for those of you who don't know. And this is the result. This is the result. I love whenever I say to Arabs, I say أنا أهلي الاثنين فلسطينية أبوي مسيحي أمي مسلمة, and they say كيف. I say شو يعني كيف. No, I don't know. I guess they liked each other. They started having sex, and now they have kids. What do you mean كيف? That's it's just the way it works with anybody else. It's all works the same. كيف. When somebody asks me what's my religion, I say I'm Palestinian. That's the truth. Somebody asks me what's my religion. Anyway, so I was in the airport, and I got to the VIP room, and I was in the VIP room for 8 hours. Oh. And finally, it was my turn to talk to the soldier. And he said to me, "What is your father's name?" I said, George, because that's my father's name, George. He said, "What is your father's name?" I said, Ilyas, because that's my father's father. Now, all of you know, George and Ilyas is 2 very Christian names, okay? Super duper Christian. Like, you can open a church tomorrow with George and Ilyas. Then he said to me, "What is your mother's name?" I said, Anan, because that's my mom's name, Anan. He said, "What is your father's name?" I said, "Oh, shit. Muhammad." and he got confused. He got very confused. So he said, "So are you Christian or Muslim?" I said, whatever. I don't. Okay. He said, no, I need to put it in the computer. Are you Christian or Muslim? I said, "Listen, man, in my house, we celebrated everything. Christmas Eid, Easter, Eid again. You know, we even celebrated Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We don't give a shit. You know, I said put Jew. I said put Jew in your computer. Isn't that better for me? Put Jew in your computer, and I don't got to deal with this shit anymore. And he started laughing, and I started laughing. And he said to me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Nazareth, Palestine, like Jesus." I said to him, "Where are you from?" He said, "I am from Tel Aviv." I said, "No, where are you from?" And then he put me back in the VIP room. And I was there for another 12 hours. And then he went home and he took a shower and he had dinner and he had breakfast and he came back. And he said to me, "Okay, are you ready now, funny guy? Just, are you ready?" I said, "Yes, I'm ready." And I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna be a good boy. As long as he doesn't say anything crazy, I'm just gonna be nice. I wanna go in, I wanna go to my homeland, I wanna see my people, I'm just gonna be nice. And then he said to me, "For how long will you be staying in Israel?" And he said it like that, Israel. And you know what? I had been in the VIP room for 24 hours. I was in a really bad mood. I was in a really Palestinian mood. Like, I'm ready to have a demonstration and a protest right now. Like, I'm ready. And he said, Israel. And you know what? I snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry. I just snapped. I said, you know what? That's it. Enough. I'm not going to Israel. Okay? I'm going to Palestine. And he said, there is no Palestine. I said, yes, there is. Maybe you haven't heard the story before. In 1948. And then he turned around and there was a big map on the wall. And he said, look at the map. There is no Palestine on the map. And I said, but it used to be there, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, and now it's just gone? He said, yeah. I said, well, then maybe we should call the news, we should call the news and see what's going on. All right, everybody, listen, I love you. Have a good night. Have a good year. Hopefully, inshallah, we will all be together soon. But I love you all. I'm proud of you all. Keep staying strong and free Palestine.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Also, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take questions, except about my love life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amer. That was very funny, very relatable at times, and thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your experiences with us. So if there aren't any questions, we can move on to our next performance. Our next performer is Noel Kharman, a Palestinian singer and songwriter from Haifa. She gained widespread fame after her YouTube mashup of Adele's Hello and also of Fairuz's Kifak Inta went viral, and she became well known for combining Middle Eastern and Western music. So Noel's songs have transcended the borders of her small village to reach listeners across the Arab world and across the globe. And now today, we're very glad that you were able to join us, Noel. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, guys. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this great event. Okay, so I'll sing 2 songs today. I hope to give you a good performance because I'm a bit tired, to be honest, because I moved to Amman today. It's been a long day. Okay, so the first song is a mashup that I did. It's in French and Arabic. You probably know the Arabic song. It's by Firouz, في قهوة على المفرق. Let's do it. Okay, just a minute. Parfois je pense à toi dans les voitures. Le pire c'est le voyage, c'est d'aventure. En chanson faire vivre un souvenir. Ah, les questions sans réponse, c'est le pire. Est-ce que tu m'entends? Est-ce que tu me vois? Qu'est-ce que tu dirais toi si t'étais là? Est-ce que ce sont des signes que tu me vois? Qu'est-ce que tu ferais toi si t'étais là? في قهوة على المفرق، في موقدي وفي نار، نبقى أنا وحبيبي نفرشها بالأسرار. جيت لقيت فيها عشاق اتنين صغار، قعدوا على ما قعدنا، سرقوا منا المشوار. يا ورق الأصفر عم نكبر عم نكبر، طرقات البيوت عم تكبر عم تكبر، تخلص الدنيا وما في غيرك يا وطني يا وطني يا وطني. يا بتضلك طفل صغير. Est-ce que tu m'entends? Est-ce que tu me vois? Qu'est-ce que tu dirais toi si t'étais là? Est-ce que ce sont des signes que tu me vois? Qu'est-ce que tu dirais toi si t'étais là? Okay, so this is the first song. And I'm going to sing Molteni, but without music. Okay. موطني موطني، الجلال والجمال والسناء والبهاء في رباك في رباك، والحياة والنجاة والهناء والرجاء في هواك في هواك. هل أراك سالما منعما وغانما مكرما، سالما منعما وغانما مكرما. هل أراك في علاك تبلغ سيماك تبلغ سيماك. موطني موطني موطني
الشباب لن يكل همه أن يستقل أو يبيد نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعدا كالعبيد لا نريد ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا لا نريد بل نعيد مجدنا التاليد موطني. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noel, for this amazing performance. Finally, as we appreciate our guests, we always take the chance at the end of each event to appreciate our attendees. We'll be pleasured if anyone wants to express his feeling toward Palestine in his own style and words. The floor is open for you all. Please leave a message in the chat to arrange that. Thank you all. We will start by Muaz.
Assalamu everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Muaz, go ahead.
Okay. So this song is the first song I have ever heard. And inshallah I will sing it. I hope I can do it well. And also I cannot rival the people who came. So I'll just do my best. والله ما نسينا فلسطين بلدنا وجوا عينينا راح تبقى بقلبي زي الزوادي مهما ظلمونا أو عملوا فينا يا طير الطاير ودي سلامي بحسرة بعدي وأيامي يا طير الطاير ودي سلامي بحسرة بعدي وأيامي بلغ أبويا أمي وعمامي مهما طولنا هالغيبة رجعينا يمي الحنوني لا تبكي لا يا عيوني يمي الحنوني لا تبكي لا يا عيوني عاهدنا الله عهدي ومنخوني رجعي عاهدنا الله عهد ومنخوني ما نرجع إلا بحد السكينة رايات الناصر يما بتلوح تنده علي يا مسعد راوح رايات الناصر يما بتلوح تنده علي يا مسعد راوح محلى الشهادة والمسكي فاوح محلى الشهادة والمسكي فاوح زغروطة يما بنبرة حزينة والله ما نسينا فلسطين بلدنا وجوا عينينا راح تبقى بقلبي زي الزوادي مهما ظلمونا أو عملوا فينا Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maz.
If anyone would like to participate, please drop your name in the chat box and we'll call you. If not, I guess this sums up our night. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I personally enjoyed it so much, and we'll see you next year in our next virtual or hopefully face-to-face Palestinian night. Kayan and Zain, if you have any ending remarks, please go ahead.
I just want to say also thank you all so much for coming. It was lovely. Thank you, Amer. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Lina, for performing. It was amazing. So yeah, thank you all for attending as well. Hopefully we'll meet on campus next year rather than virtual this time.
Yeah, just to echo similar remarks, this was really, really enjoyable. I learned a lot. Thank you so much for everyone who shared their experiences and shared their stories, and it was really lovely. And hopefully next year we can be doing this physically again.